Hello guys, welcome to GizzyFix. Thank you very much for clicking on the video. Today we're going to look at putting an IPS screen into the Game Boy Advance. These kits are readily available on AliExpress and they're actually not that bad. I think I paid about £28 for this. It's a backlit screen, very clear, as you'll see later on in the video. So what we're going to do is start by disassembling the Game Boy Advance. Quite easy screws. I believe you do need like certain drill bits for these, not drill bits, but you know the proper heads for your whichever screwdriver set you're using, and don't forget the ones that are inside the battery compartment as well. I must say, apologise for my voice. I'm actually a little bit under the weather and trying to get this video done, so there's going to be a few mistakes on this possibly, but hopefully not. So once you've got the back open, and now we're looking at removing the actual motherboard from the case itself. It's not too bad. There's only a couple of screws that are actually holding it down. Once you've found them, just unscrew those as well and keep them safe. You can see the kit around up there, and apologise for the framing of this. It's one of the earlier videos that I shot and I actually was still getting used to sort of framing different videos and that. But once the motherboard's out, it comes out fairly well. You can just place that to one side, because really it's actually the screen that we need to remove, and it's not that bad. So there's not any soldering to do with this kit. It's quite easy. You know, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And essentially it's just the ribbon cable. Essentially you just take that ribbon cable out at the top, out of the motherboard, which is the screen there. It's shielded on some sort of like a foam padding. If you just lift up on one side, you can then actually get enough of a purchase with some implement to be able to break the sort of, well, not break, that's the wrong term, but peel it away from the adhesive. It's not that glued down that hard, so once you've sort of started to peel it away, it does come away fairly safe, and you can do it without damaging anything. The adhesive, obviously, you can sort of try and keep if you want to stick it in a new Game Boy. If you got a new Game Boy Advance, then you can actually place that in a new one, if it's got a dodgy screen or anything. So always keep that screen handy, keep it safe, because they're actually really actually good screens. They're just not backlit, With the kit, you should get some adhesive panels for different style Game Boys as well. I'm using the original shell, and what you kind of want to do is sort of try and just basically line things up. So once that adhesive's down, you can sort of see where the new screen will slot in. Now, it is a bit of a tight fit. I'm not too sure how these are designed, whether they're designed for new Game Boy Advance shells that are not, OEM, like official equipment manufacturers. But as you can see, it's just a case of getting everything lined up. And this is sort of, I wasn't actually following a guide when I did this. I sort of had to kind of piece it together in my own mind. But you can see as the screen goes in, ribbon cable then plugs into the side. Now this one is the top, that's the motherboard ribbon cable that will plug into, and the other end is at the top of the motherboard here, just so you're absolutely clear on that, because that did throw me. It's just sort of piecing things together. With the kit, you should get two ribbon cables, different sizes. The one on the right is the one I used, and that point right there is the touchscreen, which we'll look at in a second as well, which is not the touchscreen, but it has sort of touchscreen functionality where you can actually filter through the different modes. And all you want to do is kind of, when you plug it, there's actually a little indentation that it's kind of designed to just slot into, and it will just free float there. You don't have to worry about fixing it down. But as you can see, I'm leaving this in because I was trying to figure it out, but there's no place for it to go there, because it would be the the link functionality, that connector. So it just folds back on itself and folds in where the ribbon cable folds over into the motherboard. Once I had everything plugged in, I just decided to test it. So it's in the motherboard now. I'm putting the correct voltage as if there were batteries attached, and switched it on just to test the screen. You can see already quite a bright light, and me filtering through. Again, apologies for the framing of the video, that's not great, but you can see just how well it does actually work and respond. And there's different video modes if you press and hold and things like that. I didn't have much time to play around with it. I just wanted to kind of get it fixed in, really. But once I was happy with where everything was going to go, I sort of, now you can start thinking, okay, let's make it permanent. So once you're sort of using that adhesive that's specially made, you just want to place that in as best you can. and line everything up, because now you're going to commit. So this is the bit you don't want to get wrong, because you tested, you've adjusted, you know where everything's going to go, you know everything lines up, you know the screen works, but now we're actually going to stick things down, and we don't want to, you know, mess this bit up. So once it's stuck down, you're happy where that bit's going to go. Now you can start to gently just fold everything in to make sure it's going to keep a nice, you know, clean seal, and the screen will just sit in the middle of that. And it's actually measured out fairly well. I actually was quite impressed with how well this screen actually works out. For the little bit of insulation behind where the board's actually going to sit, I just use a little bit of Kapton tape, and just wanted to make sure that this wouldn't impact it in any sort of adverse way. You don't have to worry too much, but yeah, you might notice what I'm doing wrong there, because it's actually upside down. So again, I left that in to make sure you don't make the same mistake. Make sure when you stick it in and you're moving things around, and of course remove the protective screen from it as well. But I just stuck a bit of Kapton tape on the back of the board. It looks fairly well insulated. I don't think anything's going to short out, but I just put some there just to, you know, just to make sure. But again, I'm no expert. There are probably people looking at this thinking, oh my god, what are you doing? But for me, you know, it worked fine. Again, once I was happy with everything's going to be seated and everything like that, then I'm looking to make it a bit more permanent and get the screen nicely lined up. And it does allow, the adhesive's not, you know, it's not like an epoxy where once you stick it down, or super glue, you know, you're not going to get it back up. It does give you a bit of free range. And don't forget to, you know, align the little touch sensor in the right place. And you can see it just folds back in that nice little sort of area where it's designed to go. And again, you know, I wasn't following a guide on this, but this was the best way I could have thought. And again, I'm just making sure each time as I go through to make sure that everything's going to get lined up, and I'm not going to, you know, put something down and end up taking it apart, because one thing I have learned with these mods, you don't want to keep messing around with them. So once I was happy, again, I'm just putting a bit more Kapton tape just to insulate anything, because now you've got open circuitry sitting on top of open circuitry, and again, this is bit more of an element that something could short out. So I'm just trying to insulate it a little bit. Yeah, this might not even be necessary, but I thought it was good practice anyways. And it sort of keeps everything down and a little bit more secure. You know, I don't have to worry anything about heat, because these boards ain't exactly going to get hot. But yeah, I'm just making sure that everything's Kapton taped down and not going to move around. And really, if I'm honest, the most difficult part of this mod was actually getting the shoulder buttons seated while I'm putting the main board back in. For some reason, they just love to pop out. And genuinely, this gave me the most aggro trying to get this mod done. But I sort of chinned it off, and I just wanted to, again, make sure that the screen actually works. And as you can see, I give a bit more of a better demonstration. As you can see, you just literally touching the top of the plastic and it will react. Now, importantly, you might have seen with this kit, you might even get a couple of wires, because you can solder parts of the board to specific parts of the motherboard on the Game Boy Advance to create shortcuts that you can use with the L and the R. And essentially it does the same thing. I didn't want to mess around too much. I didn't want to solder. You know, I was still early in my sort of modding skill set and things like that. So I just left it with the touchpad. To be honest, it works brilliant. And it's not doing anything external, or it's not interfering with any of the circuitry on the motherboard of the Game Boy. So really, I just used the touchpad, and I'm quite amazed at how well that actually works. And that's essentially it, guys, really. It's just a case of taking your old screen out and putting the new one in, and there's no soldering as well, not if you don't want. And if you want to change the screen, just leave the little touch sensor in there. And that is essentially it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video and you found it useful. Thank you very much for clicking on it, and I hope you have a really nice day. Take care.